Dr. Galen Duncan serves as the Vice President of Kings Academy and Professional Development. Prior to joining the Sacramento Kings, Dr. Duncan spent 10 years as Senior Director of Player Development with the NFL's Detroit Lions. Here, he advised players regarding housing options, financial education tools, counseling connections, and off-field career opportunities. And now, in his role with the Sacramento Kings, Dr. Duncan is responsible for implementation of the Kings Academy program. This program is a developmental, player-centric curriculum aligning multifaceted organizational philosophies and ideals to help athletes mature into well-rounded professionals. Under Dr. Duncan's oversight, Kings Academy will augment on-court progress with access to practical materials and experiences. These help balance on-court priorities and personal responsibilities with opportunities to become impactful contributors in the community. Dr. Duncan is also involved in the Diversity Awareness Program with the Kings. This program seeks to provide cultural competency and tolerance trainings to players, police officers, community members, and high school teachers and students. Many of these initiatives were derived in the wake of the Stephon Clark killing in Sacramento. A PhD in health psychology and retired United States Army Reserves officer, this Southfield, Michigan native and Lake Superior State alumnus played collegiate basketball before securing his master's degree in social work from Wayne State University, and he now has a PhD in health psychology from Walden University. Dr. Duncan is one of the many alumni I am very proud of, and I'm happy to get a chance to speak with him today. Dr. Duncan, there's a lot going on in our world today, and all of it can impact our mental health. Could you share some tips for dealing with the anxiety and focusing on our responsibilities during COVID-19?
Yes, Ward. Happy to be here too. In terms of mental health during the COVID-19 and this whole pandemic, people being placed on stay-at-home orders and restrictions being placed on who we are and what we do. My suggestions have always been to maintain a schedule, to not allow your individual day get away from what the normalcy is, trying to get up, have a nice breakfast, get something good to eat, maybe get some exercise in, some spiritual activity, have some thoughts about gratitude, and then dive into your work day. I think that having a schedule makes it more normal than those who might end up sleeping all morning or sleeping all day and then staying up all night.
The last time you and I spoke, you shared that we should all have a task focused on the greater good somewhere in our schedules. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. As a graduate of Walden, personally, I know that I have a responsibility to be as positive as possible and to affect social change any way that I can. I don't know if a lot of people understand that responsibility until they've graduated because they hammer it through the program, and I think that's a very good thing. Personally, I think that knowing and realizing that you have certain liberties, even in this country and others that others may not have, that for the most part, in my personal life, my family is safe, my family is healthy, and that the players and people that I work with on an everyday are the same, are doing pretty well and healthy. So that's a gratitude for me. So I can't sit here and focus on what's going wrong when I have so many other things in my life that are going right.
We all want this pandemic to end. What do you think our new normal will look like?
Ward, that's tough to say. I mean, I think that we've already seen some changes. I think that people are more frequently washing their hands, which we should have been doing long ago. I think that people are more conscious of other people's space, which I think that we should be conscious of as well. Everyone's not inclined to feel comfortable in the same distances that people have been. But I think that this world that we're in right now is experiencing a serious change and a different look. I do think that those who are most equipped and those who set a standard and follow rules are going to have an easier side out of this. And we know that the Walden community, who has already learned how to learn and move virtually, will essentially be on the forefront of that.
Do you think everyone will have a big adjustment, or will some people have a bigger transition than others?
Yeah, I think we kind of seamlessly moved into a Zoom, slash team slash FaceTime, whatever world we're in virtually to deal with each other. I mean, look at us right now. This we might have done this meeting together in Washington or in Sacramento, but now we're doing it across the country. Um, I think in some cases, it will make things so much more efficient. But in other cases, we may lose that special touch that we have with people, that ability to actually reach out and touch someone. It's going to be compromised. There's probably going to be some people who have some fears about going back to a work environment that includes many people in close proximity. I think that it'll be important for us to make sure that those people are made to feel safe, and that we put procedures and protocols in place to make sure that everyone is safe when it is time to go back to the workplace and back to our regular life.
Now, I know a lot of people watching this want me to ask you, what's going on in the NBA? When do you think the league is going to reopen?
Well, I'd be able to hit the lottery if I knew the exact date. But what I will say is this: I think we're consciously and in a compassionate way moving towards opening. We have protocols in place that certain people are allowed in our facilities already to practice. We're allowed to have a player per basket, so we have 5 baskets in the facility. When our players come in, they're tested, their temperature is taken, and their clothes are removed and they're put into clothes that have been made sterile and clean for them to wear in the facility. Everyone in the facility except for players will wear a mask on the court. And coming out of that, when players leave, they won't shower at the facilities. They won't do their normal post game things at the facilities. They'll have to become a little more, personally cognizant about their own stretching and things like that prior. But when they leave, they'll leave out, they'll put on the same clothes they came in with, and they'll go home. And that's repeated every time that someone comes into the facility. So I think that we have taken the right protocol, and it's definitely a change, and it's a slow move. There's been discussions about when to bring the team completely back together. I imagine we would have to have some type of a training camp, which would last approximately a week to kind of get players back on the same page. And then there's been many discussions. There's been discussions about 2 locations, Las Vegas and Orlando, as places that we would all go and play games, or there may be a certain amount of teams that actually attend that. They haven't come up with a hard number of who would still be allowed to play and where it will be done, but I anticipate that it's coming. It's coming. We may not have fans, or we may have a limited amount of fans, but we're going to bring this basketball thing back to you sooner than later.
At Walden University, we always stress that we want our graduates to go out and affect positive social change in their communities and in their environments. Please talk a bit about how you're doing that.
Yeah, with the Lions, it was a little different. I wasn't uh, let's say, involved much in the community aspect of things. It was more player related, but we had a lot of deep conversations about what players need to be involved in, and what how they need to leave their legacy and marks in their own community. I will say here with the Kings, I've had an excellent platform to be able to do so. An organization that is pushing for those things, and we stand on the forefront of all social endeavors that affect any type of person, no matter what race they are, no matter what their religion is, no matter what their sexual choice is, or what their sexual gender is. We are behind anyone who is a person and a human. So it's been great being here with Sacramento. We've weighed in really strong with the Stephon Clark incidents and the protests. I personally have been down to the protests in the last few days here for George Floyd and the ones that have taken place in Sacramento. I will have to say that everyone has been peaceful. It's been a joy to watch those who have protested peacefully, and it was a joy to walk with those people as well. I plan to go out again today and support those individuals. What I do not support is those individuals who are looting, stealing, robbing, and hurting people. I don't support anyone who is talking negatively and trying to provoke a police officer. I do not support anyone who is out here just for their own personal greed and their own personal desires. I understand anger and I understand being upset, but we can't do it like this. Can't do it like this.
Great advice. What advice do you have for a Walden student who may want to follow in your footsteps, who may want to use their job to make improvements in their communities?
Sure. I would say pick a passion, pick an area of focus, something that you truly believe in. If it is the improvement of how police treat African Americans, if that is it, then start with the police. Start with talking to police officers and individuals in those places. Start with sensitivity training. Start with understanding. Start with exposure to where people come from. Start to going into these neighborhoods and getting to know these people. If that's what you want to do, if you want to affect the other side of change, sit down with young Black men, young Black women, or anyone of color and talk to them about their plight, about what they've been through, and talk to them about how they can teach others that everyone is not built the way that some of these people are being portrayed. Um, I think once we get to that standpoint, I think as Walden change agents, we can do it individually in our own communities.
How important was it for you, a native of the area, to go back to Detroit and work for the Detroit Lions?
Man, it was super cool. I mean, um, you grow up idolizing and watching guys like Barry Sanders and Herman Moore play, and you look up and one day you're standing next to those guys at a community event, or you're helping them through a crowd of people to be able to talk to your current players about just what you thought was great about them. So man, that was amazing. It was also very taxing because people seem to think that you have 100 tickets sitting on your desk, waiting to just pass out to every soul that walks by. They think that you have a cabinet full of T-shirts and shorts and things that you could provide for giveaways, but it just doesn't work out that way. So I think I kept some friends, I kept some true friends, but I think I lost some that thought I might have enchaffed them out there. But it's all good. The good ones are still with me.
If you could go back 20 years and give yourself some advice, what would that be?
Oh my God. I mean, there's so many things. I don't think we have enough time for that one, but I think personally, I would have. I was an individual who drove from Detroit to DC for the Million Man March, and that was where it kind of hit home for me that I had a higher need or a higher responsibility for not only my community but all humanity. Um, and so I think, dropping back to that, there's some things that I would have done a little bit differently. There's some routes I would have taken a little harder. There are some things I had to focus on individually that didn't allow me to help my community at that time. I think I would have been more of a steward in my Detroit community. I think I've done some things, but I don't think you can ever do enough. I don't think you can ever do enough.
So you have a PhD from Walden University. Any tips that you could offer our current students on how to persevere through a doctoral degree?
You know what? I think I went through the whole gambit when you when you go through the program. There's a lot of change going on, and I was part of that change. It was Walden growing and learning, and I think what I would say is stay the course. Just stay the course. Work on it every single day. Make it your passion. Don't let it get you down, and don't run away from it, because it's often time in your times of frustration that you may write down some of the greatest thoughts. And so if you persevere, work hard through it, and you come out the other side, that PhD is just the beginning to propel you to such wonderful, great things that you can do in this world, and how much change you can make, and how much you can be a part of something really, really big. There's not a lot of people who can make it through that. Once you do, you are a chosen few.
Dr. Galen Duncan, it has been an absolute pleasure having you with us today. You're one of the many alumni that we are extremely proud of here at Walden University. We thank you for your efforts to make the world a better place, and we are here to support you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Ward.